Dr. Homebrew is brought to you by 5 Star Chemicals, providing safety and cleaning supplies for brewing, distilling, and winemaking at 5starchemicals.com.
Doctor, look.
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Stand clear.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Dr. Homebrew, and we're sitting here in the studio about to drink some homebrewed beer and talk about it and judge it and do all of the things that, everyone wants to do. You know what I'm trying to say? Happy to be here. We have some good beers tonight. We have a Saison. I believe that's brewed with Kiwi or something like that.
It's Kiwi, yeah.
Which is weird. Those headphones don't work?
They're getting really staticky and weird.
No, it's the box, man. It's this thing.
Okay.
You gotta fuck
Let's
with
try
it.
this.
Yeah, it's stupid. Anyway, before we get into the beers, I want to thank our sponsor, 5 Star Chemicals. Go to 5starchemicals.com and learn how to properly clean and sanitize your beer and all that kind of fun stuff. They have the chemicals that you need, and we can't really stress this enough. You actually do need them. You can't just go, oh, I'll just use this other thing. 5 Star is the best in the business. Anybody will tell you that. Anybody who knows what the hell they're doing will tell you that. And if they tell you something different, they don't know what they're doing.
Sometimes I wish they made beer, too.
Right? Because it's just, that's how good.
Well, sometimes you have people who make other products for you or, whatever, produce stuff, and then they make beer, and then you wish they don't make beer. I'm not going to name any names, but I'm just saying.
Well, yeah.
Some of the suppliers out there make beer, and you're like, well, I wish that didn't happen.
I wish a lot less people made beer than actually make beer just in general. Like, in general, the craft beer scene kind of sucks lately, and I'm fucking really mad about it. I'm drinking a blonde ale right now that is not a blonde ale at all. It has no head at all, and it's a hazy, soft water, creamy mouthfeel blonde ale. And I've had half of this beer for now 45 minutes, and I'm not going to finish it. And I think it's gross, and I don't understand it.
It looks weird.
I don't understand it, man.
It smelled weird, too.
God. And really, I guess what I get mad about is that, I think most people... most craft beer drinkers are homebrewers or educated in styles. So if you say it's a blonde ale, it better be a fucking blonde ale. Don't give me a light hazy IPA, dude, and call it a blonde ale. This style creep is annoying, man.
It smells like honey. I'm drinking a lager that smells like honey.
Yeah, that's a lager. That's not actually
fresh honey and a little bit of sulfur.
It's by the same brewery. It's not even lagered. I guarantee it's too estery to be lagered. It just makes no sense. That's why I'm gravitating more towards spirits and tiki drinks now, because experimentation in cocktails is a little bit more, I don't know, easily defined or easily welcomed, because it's supposed to be. That's how they kind of came out in the first place. And you're not learning like styles. I don't know, like, you know what I mean? A Mai Tai is this recipe, and you can kind of venture off for it, but like a blonde ale has numerous recipes, but it still should fall within a category.
I'm 5 years from now, you'll be like the Mai Tais. Sorry, I know I got my microphone closer to me and I'm talking into it, so I'm a lot louder.
Nope, you're doing great. I got you. Don't worry about it.
You're like, wow, these Mai Tais. What the fuck's going on with these Mai Tais? I remember when people were making real fucking Mai Tais.
Well, that's the thing about the drinks industry, man, is everybody will always make real fucking Mai Tais because they want to stay to style, and if they float something else in there, then it's their take on a different drink, man.
Like, there's fucking hot Mai Tais now. Why are they mulled Mai Tais?
Actually, that sounds pretty good. I'm not going to lie about it. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much to 5 Star. And, okay, we have a Saison, right? Saison.
Yeah. It's a hobbity Saison.
With Kiwi. A base beer is Saison with Kiwi. Bottle smells good. I'm not going to... And then what's the other beer we have?
We have
Kolsch?
a Kolsch.
Kolsch.
I'm not going to try to pronounce it correctly because Kolsch. I'm going to try, but
I'm excited, and I probably say this too many times, but I don't really care. When was the last? We don't really get Saisons a whole lot. We get Kolsch's a fair amount, but I always enjoy them because it's a good style. And I think if we can help people along in learning how to make a Kolsch that should actually be a Kolsch that's not like domestic Turo and Cascade. Like, again, a lot of craft brewers like to use that, and it frustrates me to no end. We got some email.
Cool.
Entitled, I understand JP's frustration with NHC.
You're frustrated with NHC? What's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. It's not like it's not. No one can really say. He says, "Hey guys, I'm the Brian that sent you guys the Irish Red. This was last month, I think. I think it was last month.
It was recent. It was recent.
I can now say that I have experienced exactly what frustrates JP about the National Homebrew Competition. That same batch of Irish Red that Brian and Keith Kevin scored a 37.
I love that.
Got an average of 30. One judge scored it a 28 and the other a 32, so they met in the middle. Of the two judges, it was the non-BJCP judge who scored it higher. It was bottled in the same exact way, and I held a bottle back to taste on the weekend of judging. No difference in taste to me. Certainly not a 10-point difference. Anyhow, I got a good laugh out of it and now can commiserate with JP. I rebrewed the Irish Red with some of the feedback that I got and dropped the ABV to just over 4%. I'll send you a couple bottles if you're interested. Doesn't have to be on the show. Yeah, of course we're interested. And then Brian wrote a novella.
Well, actually, my second reply is better.
Well, your secretary wrote the novella. That'd be pretty awesome. Your secretary
did you see this email? You're on it.
Like, I think I shared
Jesus
him.
Christ.
Sorry,
1, 2,
he's doing screenshots.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7 paragraphs.
He's taking screenshots from the guidelines and all kind of other crazy stuff. Actually, from his score sheet, he's taking screenshots and showing stuff.
Oh, I love Brian. That's why he's on the show, man. Because this guy,
because I can write and not talk.
He knows all your you know your stuff, man. And then he goes, "Wow, I wasn't expecting this much of a reply."
You overwhelmed him.
Yeah, I like thinking about judging philosophy and stuff like that. So his comments kind of struck a nerve in me, and in a way, I kind of stood up for judges too, and that not everybody's perfect,
but they should be. God damn it!
And a lot of things can affect the score that a beer gets in a competition. It's not just. Sadly, it's not just how good the beer is.
Yeah. And points don't necessarily matter all that much either. Sometimes it's about what are the best beers, because some judges just naturally are a little bit lower than others, and that's why sometimes Brian and I will talk and we'll have like the exact same feedback, but our scores are slightly different just because we all score a little bit differently and different days, different nights, and like Brian's saying, like different things can be happening. Someone could be smoking outside, so it could be there's certain smells come through the room, and it's not a perfect world of judging. There's always things that get in the way of making everything absolutely great. Yep. Someone could be having a bad day. They could have a cold.
There could be a glassware issue.
A lot of different stuff. But there are, there are other times where you're like, man, they really had crappy judges at this competition. I can't believe this person actually said that about my beer. Do they know what the hell they're doing? And the number of times.
And the answer is no.
Yeah, the number of times I've said that, and it's like, what the fuck? Like, come on. Like, I know there's flaws with this beer, but they didn't even point out the right flaws. Like, I don't know.
And that's always been my problem. Well, not always, but that's one of my problems, especially in the past few years, and which is mainly why I didn't enter this year, is because they're pointing out flaws that aren't there. And I understand that it's subjective, but it just, I don't know, it weighed on me a little bit. So anyway, I appreciate being a pal to commiserate with, Brian. I didn't think your Irish Red was that bad. I'll tell you that much.
And I didn't
28 was like, Jesus, dude.
I didn't get a chance to respond either. Like I would have. I just get so burned out by email from work that I tend to not. Like, emails tend to be like 1 or 2 word sentences. Yeah. And I grew up as a writer in my life at one point, but I see Brian's responses, and it kind of says to me like, man, maybe I should be looking for a new career after seeing that. Like, he has this passion, and I do as well, but I'm like just so burned out from what I do. I hope everybody I work with is listening right now. Hey, how you doing out there?
Hey, guys.
Ted and Bill and Barbara, eat ass. No, but Brian, you did actually stand up for judges, and you basically just said, technically both scores refer to this beer as being very good.
Yeah,
and that is something to remember, because I always forget that as well. 30 to 37 is a very good beer. Even good. Like, how many times, think back to every time you guys have been to a bar and you've gotten a beer that's just okay. That's technically a 21 to a 29.
Right.
So if you're scoring over even a fair is 14 to 20. That's pretty, this beer that I'm drinking, this quote-unquote blonde ale, I would give it a 14. It's at the low side of fair. It's unpleasant and major style deficiencies.
It's hard to drink.
Right, it's super hard to drink. I'm not finishing it. But it wouldn't be good or very good. That's for goddamn sure. And that's what you got to remember. If you score a 30 in any competition or higher, you're doing very good. Can you do very good? And you can do very well. Your beer is very good, but you can't do good. You can do well, right? That's how it goes.
I guess you can do good if you're like helping out people and giving handouts and stuff like that. Are you doing good at that point, or what are you doing?
Well, I think you're doing good, but a different version of the word good.
Good, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you get above 30A, that's excellent. I mean, at that point, it has to exemplify the style well and require, maybe some minor fine tuning. But yeah, even then, up to a 44, it still requires some minor fine tuning. So it's like, unless you make that perfect world class beer, that's perfectly balanced, doesn't need any fixing at all.
Yeah.
You're not going to get those 45 scores.
Right. I mean, and we've been saying it forever. It's a crapshoot. I've gotten beers that are in the low 40s that don't advance.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why. And that drives me up the wall. I had a guy, one of the guys that works here, got a 42 or something like that in a beer in the Nationals and didn't advance, and it pisses him off. And I'm like, yeah, I know. That's why I don't enter anymore.
Well, those are the mini best of show things, which are also kind of tough because you can get somebody who's a really high scorer, and then you go against other beers, and then the best judges are actually judging the mini best of shows. So I think the people that score a 42 and don't go on, their
beer's not really a 42?
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite complaint. They're like, hey, I was really good. But meanwhile, the judges were really bad again.
Like, this other judging team missed the diacetyl in that beer.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
Like, everybody has holes, too. Like, I didn't mean that by, like, ears and, anuses, but, like, everybody has holes in their tasting, and not everybody can taste everything, and, and that's why it's good to have, like, multiple people judging, and that's why it's also good to go through multiple rounds where you can kind of pull out stuff.
Yeah,
and say,
that's fair.
Fortunately, I can't taste haze, so there's that.
Jeez, man.
I like these new IPAs that are coming out with.
Dude. I mean, I walk in the studio just after it being poured, no head at all, and I go, look, it's a glass of dishwater. I mean, the flavor's not terrible. I'll give it that. Anyway, whatever. I'll leave it alone. Okay, let's take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to drink one of these beers. I don't know exactly which one we're going to drink, but we'll figure that out on the break. This is Dr. Homebrew. Hang on, and we'll be right back.
Hello, fellow BNers. This is Sully from the 21st Amendment Brewery located in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park. Before Nico and I opened the 21A and before I was a professional brewer, I homebrewed on my small 4-burner apartment stove in a back house in Santa Monica, California, making my extract brews before graduating to the daunting idea of all-grain brewing. Homebrew books and information was hard to come by back then. The internet hadn't been invented yet, along with other things we take for granted today, like electricity and potable water. One thing I wish I had back then when I was learning was a radio show that could teach me the ins and outs of brewing and answer questions that I had about homebrewing, a resource for making great craft beer. The 21st Amendment Brewery is excited to be a proud sponsor of Dr. Homebrew, a great show that teaches you what you need to know about making incredible beer. Good stuff. Listen up, you might learn something. I certainly did. And thanks for your support. Tasty Crack Games.
Now, back to the examination.
All right, everybody, welcome back.
JP returneth with beer.
I came back with beer here. You know what I'm trying to say?
Made a little beer house in our soul.
But before that, Oh, man, where did this stupid... No, I got them printed out. Yeah, that's right. I printed out the Johns, everybody. Don't worry about it. The iDip, everybody, and they will be at NHC, I guarantee it. The Smart Brew Water Testing Kit incorporates a revolutionary photometer system, which is the first and only one on the market with its own app. You have home or commercial use. You can use it in either. So if you're opening a brewery or know a friend who does, or have a brewery and you need a better water tester, this Smart Brew iDip is the best one, dude. It pairs via Bluetooth and updates your water results instantly. You can email the results to the rest of your brew team or post to your Facebook page and let your homebrew club get the lowdown on your base water profile. You can test over 40 different water quality tests. 4 come preloaded and more are available. You can test for things like total alkalinity, chloride, calcium hardness, pH, sulfate, and more, with only 4 mils of water needed for each test. Go to smartbrewkit.com and use code TBN10 at checkout and save $10 on either the standard or advanced Smart Brew testing kit.
Go advanced.
Well, you got to, right? I mean, that's kind of what you should do. Why not? Always go advanced. That's really what I've always said.
Yep. We're brewers here.
All right, Rob, if you're listening, dude, where are you? What's going on? Let's try calling him.
Okay.
Let's try calling Rob here. Bros? Poor Rob, I'm calling him out, and he's probably sitting there going, you need to call me, dude. What's going on? So we have his Kolsch, right? That's what we're doing?
The Kolsch.
All right. Just want to make sure I'm on the same page with you all.
2015 guidelines, 5B. 5B.
There he is. Rob.
Available. Please leave a message
Hey,
after
Rob.
the beep.
Wow.
Let's leave a message.
Yeah. Hey, Rob, this is Jason and Brian and Keith Kyle Kevin from Dr. Homebrew. We're here calling you, and we're going to drink your Kolsch. So if you're, get this message in time, please return our phone call. Thanks, dude.
We tasted your Kolsch.
And it was good. Okay, so let's go, Keith. Why don't you start us off,
I knew
dude?
that was going to happen today. I had a feeling. I was ready, but not quite ready. But I'm gonna jump in here.
All right, do it.
Okay, so aroma. I have a slight solventy note, fairly strong spicy hop aroma, and some lemoniness on the nose. Touch of alcohol, low grainy malty aroma. I think I'm worried about here is the solvent and lemon are a bit out of style.
Okay.
I hear a phone ringing.
No, it's not us. Good.
It's not us. That's good.
Darn those people.
Okay.
Got the switchboard going here. All right. Continue.
Appearance. Very low head. Dissipates quickly if there is much head there at all. Medium dark gold, a little bit brownish actually, which should suggest some oxidation. Low haze, got some haze here, and really, color-wise, I think it's the dark end of the style. Moving on to flavor, get a high fruitiness with a light plastic clove, light spicy hop flavor. Balance is nearly even between bitter and sweet. Malt is mostly just sweet with a hint of honey. Suggesting oxidation. Fruitiness and phenols are flaws, also getting a fair amount of papery notes, again, oxidation. Medium body, very low carbonation, bordering on still. Really hurts the aspect of crispness. Style really dictates it has to be a crisp beer. Lack of carbonation obviously is going to kill that. Not getting really much alcohol warming.
We got Rob incoming. Here we go.
Okay.
Incoming. Hey.
Almost.
Is Skype acting up tonight?
No. All right, Rob. I don't know, dude. I don't know what's going on, but you call me when you're done. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Keith. Go ahead.
No worries. I'll just continue on. So overall impression, high ester, solventy, light phenol, and papery are all off flavors. The style is very delicate. It needs to be a super, super clean beer to make a great Kolsch. There's, obviously some issues here. Lack of carbonation, obviously, on top of all of the other, slight flavor flaws, slight to medium high flavor flaws, I guess. So, fixing this, obviously for the solventy, high fruitiness, what's your firm temps, yeast health, and then obviously carbonates properly. Overall, I gave it a 21. So want to not has some room, definitely a lot of room for improvement. Balance wise, not terribly off. So that's one of the good things about it. But just the fermentation is fermentation, carbonation are the big issues here.
All right, very good, Brian.
I agree with a lot of what Keith said there. This Kolsch, it opened with a low hiss there. It actually, it does actually have some carbonation, but it's not a lot. It's and the aroma comes through with a moderate honey-like malt up front to me, and kind of a cider-like appley ester in there. It is fairly estery. There's a faint floral hop in there, which is okay. I mean, you should have some nice little noble hops in there. You do get the hop. But it also is paired with some slight papery oxidation in the nose. Not getting any DMS or diacetyl, any acetaldehyde or anything like that, but it is lightly solventy for sure. It's not a real heavy solvent, but it's got, there's something there that's like, wow, a little boozy. Mm-hmm. Appearance-wise, it pours a slightly hazy, kind of an odd orangey gray gold color, almost no head. Large white bubbles just kind of flutter on the surface for a second and just falls flat. Hard to rouse any bubbles when you swirl the glass here. Yeah, man, just looking at it, I knew it was probably undercarbonated. Gee, did you think?
We should have Robb finally. Robb.
Hey, Robb.
Hey.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey.
You do exist.
I do exist. I'm here.
We're tasting their beer.
Thanks for hitting the phones, man, and giving us a call. I'm going to let Brian finish, and then we'll talk to you, okay?
Yep.
Sounds good.
All right, man. Cool. Continue, Brian, please.
Yeah, getting into the flavor, it was interesting. It had kind of a mead-like presentation, like one of those, like a light hydromel kind of a thing, because it has so much honey-like flavors in the malt. That's interesting. But that, some of the when the malt starts kind of oxidizing, it does come across like a honey-like thing, as Keith was saying. And the higher alcohols are pretty prominent here too. You start tasting them, and then in the mouthfeel feeling them. It just seems like a stale malt component with a honey-like bready oxidized character. But it's balanced to the malt, I would say. The bitterness is very low. It finishes, I would say, semi-dry, and there's just honey and solvent in the aftertaste. It's got, there's some appley esters and stuff in there too. But yeah, in a low, maybe kind of an herbal hop in the flavor. And kind of herbally. Mouthfeel-wise, it's medium-bodied, I would say. The mouthfeel is hard because the carbonation really isn't there. There's no carbonation. It's almost flat. But it wasn't very creamy. There wasn't any real astringency to it. But I do get some warmth in the back of the throat, some of that solvent to heat coming through. And, just a little odd in the mouthfeel, too. If the carbonation was there, you might be able to get at something else in there, but it's just falling flat that way. Sadly, but just overall, the beer has some vaguely Kolsch-like attributes, but needs a good amount of work. It's not entirely unpleasant. I won't say this is like, this is, really low-scoring beer.
You wouldn't pull your hair out over it.
You can drink it, but and if it was carbonated, probably score a few points higher. It just misses the mark with some major style deficiencies here. I would, you definitely want to keep the oxygen out after you finish your ferment, or that malt's going to go stale real quick. So just look at your transferring and how you're getting into the either keg and then from there into the bottle, etc. So, maybe you're drinking it from the keg and it's just a pleasant Kolsch, and then the bottles are all oxidized. I don't know, but you do want to make sure I think there's more than just that. You want to carefully give a big yeast pitch to avoid that solvent-like character and the hot alcohols. Definitely want to take care of your yeast and make sure that you have enough there to get it through that, especially with a fermentation that should be on the colder side. And then maybe too, if you fermented it warmer, maybe then it could kick some things out that the Kolsch yeast wouldn't normally at the temperatures you want to do it at. So watch your fermentation temp control and all of that too. I give it an 18. It's a fair beer on the high end of that, I would say, but it needs some work, and we'd like to help you with this. Let's talk to Robb about his background and his recipe and all that fun stuff.
Cool. So I've been brewing for about 3 years. Started off with extract, went to all grain about 18 months in. I think some of the comments there probably make sense. This beer was brewed last June, so it's almost 10 months old, and it was bottle conditioned. Okay. So that probably explains some of that. It's definitely oxidized. But honestly, I was looking for, I'm fairly new to the taste of beer and trying to identify off flavors, that kind of thing. So definitely very helpful comments. But you want me to go over the recipe at this point or hold off?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So it was a 5-gallon batch. I have a brewing bag set up. It was 10 pounds of Pilsner, 2.5 Vienna, and a half pound of Munich. Massed at 150. 1.5 ounce Hallertauer at 60 minutes. Gravity started out at 1.052. Fermented around 62 to 65. It was temperature controlled, and then I let it warm up near the end of it, and then it finished at 1.01.
Yeah, that's good. Would like to taste it fresh too. Do you have a bottle of it with you that you're tasting along with us here, or?
Yeah, I'm drinking some right now.
Yeah, from a keg or from a bottle you did? Yeah, well, he was all bottle conditioned, that's right.
Yep.
And did the rest of the bottles carbonate early on? Was it more carbonated, or was it just always kind of flat?
I think it was more carbonated. The one I have is on, it's not flat, but it's definitely not fully carb either. So it may have been a priming sugar issue. Maybe I didn't use quite enough.
Yeah. Or a lot. I don't know if you can lose some. I mean, usually it sticks in there pretty well once you cap it properly. But if the capping wasn't good, then that you could lose a little bit.
Yeah, and it's not like that. I mean, what yeast strain did you use? I'm sorry, I missed the.
Yeah. Sorry, the Kolsch yeast 29 from
029. No, White Labs. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is still not super flocculent. So the other option, like, hey, why didn't something carbonate? Maybe all the yeast dropped out. But Kolsch strains in general are kind of powdery, and they don't really drop out a lot. So I wouldn't expect it to totally drop out. And that one drops a little more than the 2565 from Y yeast. I think the color-wise is a little dark, and I mean some of that we think is oxidation, but I think the amount of Vienna and Munich seems a little bit heavy for a Kolsch style, and I know people put a touch of Vienna or Munich in them just to add a little maltiness to them. I'm not a huge fan of that, but it doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just seems like where you're going with it is a little bit on the high side for the style. It almost maybe something you do in a Munich Helles or trying to up the maltiness, while Kolsch really is not so much about that. It's really delicate and Pils malt showcase somewhat and really showcasing and the yeast as well and the fruitiness there, and not really adding a lot more of the malt there. So just consideration in the future with that. Not that that's I think the thing to focus on initially, but. Like how about yeast? How did you handle the yeast? Did you have a big enough starter? How did you, do you have a stir plate? Like, what are you doing with the yeast there?
Yeah, usually I do have a stir plate and do a starter. Honestly, on this one, I didn't document which way I did it, so I don't remember honestly. Definitely something I'll look to do going forward to try to make sure it's able to finish out completely. So there's more Vienna on this one than I typically do on a Kolsch, and I'm just kind of experimenting around with it. So I think that all makes sense too.
Yeah, it's interesting that it holds all that haze after this much time in the bottle too, and I imagine they were stored upright and just it comes up, and I'm sure it's darker than it was when you first poured it too. It's got to be.
I think the main takeaway is that it's 10 months is pretty old for a Kolsch. It's a fresh style. Exactly. It's a month or maybe two, and then it starts to kind of go downhill because there's nothing really in there to hide all those kind of. And I got like some metallic, like some bready, yeasty kind of thing happening, which makes sense because it was bottle conditioned. So.
Yeah. Competitive brewers are not going to enter a Kolsch in any competition after 10 months normally. So
you're not doing it any favors for sure.
Okay, but it's. I feel like we're not tasting your prime here, and it's okay. But I'm sure you did want some feedback on this, so that's cool.
Absolutely,
we want to help you out.
Yeah, I wish I could have gotten something more fresh. JP emailed me and said he needed it pretty quick, so I grabbed what I had.
That was what you had
available.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. We'll take another beer from you down the road.
Yeah, it's all good. We have one next month. I think we're going to do.
Oh, yeah, cool.
So we'll be talking to you again.
Okay, sounds good.
Do you have any final questions for the guys, Rob, before I let you go?
Brian mentioned that it didn't. Outside of the apparent oxidation, that kind of thing, the apparent sweetness, residual sweetness. I have every beer I do, it seems like there's some residual sweetness there, and it doesn't matter. If it may be straight Pilsner that I use, and I suspect it's some of my water. So in the last couple of batches, a couple of months ago, I started doing more water treatments, and that seems to have helped. But it's probably hard to tell on this one since, like you said, it's so old. But anything outside of the oxidation that makes you think that the water may be off?
I mean, I did get a little phenol, not like a ton of phenol, but that would be, I don't know, that's sort of a water problem. But I don't know, pH sort of adjustment and where it falls with a higher final gravity. I mean, I guess it's possible. I'm trying to run through my head right now of what. And I'll let Brian speak to this.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a big minerally, it doesn't seem like a mineral bomb here either. It seems like the water is okay. It's not, I mean, the Kolsch water, it's not going to have a lot of minerals in it. So standing out in there, that would just destroy it. It's got to be delicate, keep it fairly soft. Enough calcium to make your water happy and get the yeast going. So, or get everything converting in the mash and all of that, and keep everything happy there. But yeah. The dryness is more attenuating your yeast out properly to get to that level of crispness you want with this beer. Keeping the yeast happy. So, oxygenate well when you pitch it, and just do everything right there. Use that stir plate you got, and that's good.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right,
Appreciate
Rob.
Feedback.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you sending the beer.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you
later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Finally got a hold of him. That's good. I'm glad. I don't like not talking to people.
I know.
It's not the same.
We can talk about beer all day, but
it's better to talk to
somebody
dude.
about it.
For sure. All right. Let's take a quick break, and we're going to come back and drink this Saison. This is Dr. Homebrew. Hang on. We'll be back in just a jiff. Just a quick pop of jiff.
Do you know the three most important rules in brewing? Sanitation, sanitation, and sanitation. And no one does it better than 5-Star Chemicals. 5-Star knows sanitation. You can only sanitize clean equipment. And 5-Star knows how to clean, too. For craft brewers and home brewers, 5-Star has what you need to keep your fermenters, serving tanks, kegs, and draft lines sparkling and free of any beer-spoiling bacteria. PBW, caustic, acid cleaners, Star San, SaniClean, lubricants and defoamers, pH stabilizers, and more. 5-Star Chemicals has cleaning supplies, safety supplies, heat exchangers, pumps, hoses, and valves. And 5-Star is proud to offer eco-friendly products that exceed customer expectations. If you have a cleaning problem, you need the 5-Star solution. Visit 5starchemicals.com or call 800-782-7019. 800-782-7019 and get the 5-Star treatment today.
Are you a member of the White Labs Customer Club? If not, you should be. It's the easiest way to earn free stuff for turning in your old homebrew labels from either Vials or Pure Pitch. All you have to do is save your labels and redeem them for things like free yeast, an exclusive White Labs t-shirt or sweatshirt, and even the opportunity to brew with the yeast man himself, Chris White. Signing up is easy. Just go to whitelabs.com/customer club, fill out the registration form, and then mail in your labels. They will return the favor by sending you awesome White Labs swag. Go sign up today at whitelabs.com/customer club. White Labs, pure yeast and fermentation since 1995.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but we're going to have to pour you out.
Back to Dr. Homebrew.
All right. Thanks for sticking with us, y'all. Before we get to the other beer that we have, I do want to remind you, of course, and how can you forget, More Beer. They're the best. We all know that. But they also have morebeerpro.com. They offer bulk malt, hops, yeast, as well as pro fermenters and bright tanks, along with 4,000 other products to breweries at wholesale pricing. So if you have a brewery, set up an account and save with morebeerpro.com. Super easy. Go there, morebeerpro.com, register, sign up, do all the things, and then life is real good. All right, I got my Johns confused here. There we go. Sign off on that. Sign off on that.
Thing if you're between the male and the female John.
Right. Well, you never know, man. That's the deal. That's the deal with this whole thing. All right, let's get Steven on the line, right? That's who we're calling today.
Just depends how JP identifies today.
Well, you never know. And let's pour this Saison. We have a couple bottles active, right? Steve, are you there?
I am.
How's it going, man?
Hey. It's going well, and yourself?
Perfect. We're just cracking open one of your beers, man.
Steve.
Excellent.
So do me a favor, while we're getting served with this beer, tell me how long you've been homebrewing, and what's your background with the Saison, and why the Kiwi, and the whole 9 yards, man.
I started brewing beer about 2012, and the whole thing with the Kiwi was much ago. More Beer was having a sale, actually, on YET hops, and so I ended up getting it, and I was going to do actually different yeast. And my friend, when we were chatting over the internet, who was apparently pretty drunk because he didn't remember reminding me about it, was like, we should go with the whole New Zealand thing, and suggested kiwis instead of like peach or raspberry or what people normally go out with. So I figured it's a little bit of a challenge, trying to figure out how to manage the kiwi without getting the whole damn thing infected. And so I figured I'd give it a go.
Sure, awesome. Hey man, I like that. Sometimes the best ideas start with a drunken friend who has no idea that they're involved at all in it.
Challenge accepted, drunk friend who doesn't know shit.
That's what happened with my baby, actually. That's how it started with the baby, actually. I was a drunken friend. I'm kidding.
I don't understand.
Oh, man.
Brian, why don't you go ahead and start us off with the Saison here?
All right. Yeah, it's in the nose. It's pleasantly fruity. It's got a nice orangey apple, some pear esters, pretty strong white and black pepper phenolic spice in there to balance the fruit that is there. Malt is bread-like, kind of below that. The alcohol presence is firm and inviting, I would say. It seems pretty smooth. It's a fairly low kiwi presentation in the nose. It's so phenol heavy. It's just not coming past that too much, and a lot of the other fruits that are there. But it comes through a little bit in the aroma. And I don't eat kiwis for every meal like Keith, so I'm struggling to find that in my memory banks too. I don't remember.
Just brunch. Only do it for brunch.
Okay. Color-wise, it's a pale golden color with very good clarity. Had a medium-low head, white in color, with fairly good retention. It stuck around for a fair while. Not it faded after a little while, probably because of the alcohol that's in a Saison and everything else that's going on. But mostly finer bubbles, pretty finely formed head. Could be a little bigger and fluffier, but that's okay. Flavor-wise, it's got a nice, a bready malt in there, and a moderate level of apple orange esters complementing the medium-low kind of kiwi flavor that's in there. I'd say maybe the kiwi comes through a little bit more in the flavor. The finish is, say, kind of medium dry. Clean phenolics, peppery in there, and medium-low bitterness. I would say that the phenolics, though, they're not as strong in the flavor to me as they were in the aroma. They come through, really bigly in the nose, and then a little less in the flavor. The alcohol is medium-high, pretty firm, but smooth. Just a bit biting, but not harsh at all. The pepper and malt linger in the aftertaste with that alcohol, and a little bit of kiwi. Mouthfeel-wise, it's medium-bodied with smooth alcohol heat, not burning at all. Just hey, there's some alcohol. Medium-high carbonation. You could go higher on that. It's not very astringent. No creaminess. It's pretty smooth for how big it is in the mouthfeel. It feels good. Overall, I'd say it's a nice job accenting an already fruity beer with this fruit, and dealing with the fruit, and it's clear. It's not pulpy or hazy or weird looking. It looks nice. I mean, it's
true.
Saisons can be a little hazy sometimes. You'd probably be okay if it was, but hey, you could dry out the finish a little bit here. I would say bump up the carbonation a bit too. It should be a pretty spritzy beer. That's going to drive some of those flavors, maybe even some of the kiwi flavor a little bit more, and the aroma especially. Dude, maybe it's a pretty complex beer overall. There's a lot of complexity here, and I'd say maybe there's some ways you could simplify your recipe a bit that would make what you want to shine through in the beer come through. But yeah, I thought it was a very good beer. You keep that yeast happy longer to dry out the body a little bit, and bump up the kiwi a bit, and you could go higher. I gave it a 34. I thought it was a very good beer.
Cool.
Oh, all right, Keith.
Thanks, Brian.
No, I'm Jason.
Well, I was actually thanking Brian for actually saying something important.
Oh,
but,
shit.
Anyway, I will continue. The aroma is pretty dynamic. As I sat around and smelled it for a while.
Dynamic. Wow.
There were a lot of different flavors came out.
You are a judge.
Aromas. Jesus, not a judge. I can't even say the right words. Big fruity apple. I got some banana. I got light to medium banana. Light clove. Some pepper in the background. I was struggling to find the kiwi. Really couldn't, and the aroma couldn't find the kiwi. Also got some hints of green pepper, and as well as some earthiness, maybe from the hops. But overall, fairly clean. There was nothing really off-putting there in the aroma. Appearance: medium gold with long-lasting white head with some fair lacing. Appears to have decent carbonation. This one, still has that great lacing, I think, in it. A little bit of legs, so maybe some alcohol there. Flavor: lots of fruit. Again, apple, low banana. Very light DMS in the finish, light graininess as well. I was getting just a mild kiwi flavor, I think, and I'm a little more familiar with kiwi than Brian, I guess. I enjoy kiwi. Sometimes I buy the clamshell or whatever the hell that's called. But actually, better go to the farmer's market and get some kiwi here locally is always the best way to go. They're pretty cheap.
All right, hippie.
Anyway. Lost track of what the heck I was talking about.
Keep them on the West Coast long enough, anyone turns into a hippie.
There's a lot of other fruit going on, so it is hard to pick through to find the apple and the slight banana and some pear where that kiwi really is. Getting like Brian, I really had a lighter in terms of the aroma to flavor. The phenols were a lot milder in the flavor than they were in the aroma, so I'm getting some light pepperiness, some light clove there. Overall balance is fairly even, but it does finish dry still. I like that, and there is some alcohol flavor there. Mouthfeel: a medium light body, medium to maybe medium high carbonation, with low warming. Again, no astringency. Really, again, the carbonation, like I was kind of saying, hey, medium to medium high or whatever. It should be like really high. So that's one of the difficulties here, and that also kind of affects the whole perception of body and just sort of crispness of the beer. So anything in a saison, anytime you could bump up that carbonation, the better off you are. But overall, really, just really great fruity version of saison. There's some of that banana stuff's a little bit weird in it. Saison, I don't really expect to see that. I am getting a little of the clove, but maybe more peppery, but I am getting a touch of clove. So I've watched that too. Interested in knowing what yeast you use and how you treated that, and could use a little bit more dryness as well. But I really like the beer. Could be more effervescent. I just already said that. But I like the beer a lot. But the reason I gave a little bit lower score than Brian is I really struggle to pick out the kiwi. It is a hard thing to put into beer and get the flavor from. It's like something like mango, where it's like a lot of sugar, and the final flavor is just it's kind of hard to pick it out through. And not saying that kiwi has a lot of sugar, but it's just something that's kind of difficult to pick out. And if you add more, I don't know if it would work or not. Maybe consider adding another fruit to it, strawberry or other kind of maybe another berry or something would be an interesting mix. I'm not sure. Maybe gooseberry would be
like something to add to accentuate the kiwi.
Yeah, double fruit it and get some other fruit complexity there. I think at this point in time, I don't know if I would enter this as a fruit beer. Really enjoy it, but I gave it a 32 just because as a fruit beer, I'd be like, where exactly is the kiwi? I like balancing the fruit, not having too much fruit. But this is one of those where you're like really searching through and sifting through and trying to find the fruit, which is not what you want to do for a fruit beer.
Kiwis are pretty subtle flavor anyway, and they're mainly just more tart and texture, really. So I think you would have a hard time convincing someone that there was kiwi in here. To me, it would be, what experimental hop are you using? You know what I mean? Like, what fruiting and hop are you using? So,
there's a little tang to it,
a little bit, yeah, for sure. But anyway, Stephen, why don't you take us through your recipe and what you did and all that kind of stuff, if you wouldn't mind.
Which farmer's market you went to?
which
the farmer's market I went to was the supermarket Wegmans. That's right by us. Because Kiwi in New York is not exactly a local delicacy.
It's not.
But yeah, so I used 8 pounds, 9.6 ounces of Pilsner malt as the base, and then I used 2 pounds, 14.5 ounces of wheat malt, 8 ounces of Vienna, 4 ounces of acidulated malt, and then as a bittering hop, I used Centennial. I used half an ounce of that. And then I used 1 ounce of Waiiti, about 10 minutes, with left in the boil. And that was pretty much it. The yeast that I ended up using actually was the Lallemand, the Belle Saison yeast. Okay. All right. It didn't do a starter or anything like that. I just kind of rehydrated it a little bit for about a half hour or so before I pitched it, just to kind of wake it up a little bit. Basically, I let it kind of scroll through the fermentation, and then right when it looked like the croissant's pretty well fallen and everything else, I threw in basically a clamshell, so it's about 3 pounds of kiwi. Basically, I kind of peeled it all off, cut it up into quarters, put it in the oven at 250 for about 20 minutes or so, let it cool, and then I threw that in a mesh bag, and I let that sit for about 5 days before I ended up pulling it.
Why the oven?
In BYO, I was reading how to kind of do a bunch of stuff with the fruit beer, which is kind of sort of how this thing was starting. And basically they said, to try and kind of neutralize any of the, wild yeast and stuff like that, to just try and limit, some of the possibility of infection.
Paranoid guys.
Yeah, and I mean I get it, but it's, I think with kiwi you're peeling it already. It's like a banana,
right.
So it's already protected. So
the skin's there. Right?
Yeah, and I wonder
fruit as well that has a low pH. So I
think
true. It's kind of a hard thing to throw in, and you have alcohol already in the beer when you're throwing it in.
And I wonder what kind of delicate aromas were kind of melted off.
Yeah, is that going to drive off some of that?
I'm surprised there's not some like pectin set either at that point in time.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's weird. It's like interesting.
But that's cool, though.
You said that, we were all like, your eyebrows all raised. Said that, like, whoa.
What's Steven doing over there?
That's like that toasted kiwi flavor.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
No,
so you're saying basically try and pitch it without the oven.
Yeah, why not? I mean, it's especially and if you're worried about it, either wear gloves or dip your hand in Star San or something like that, and then you can just throw it in there. I think you're fine. I think you're fine. The amount of air contact is super limited from peeling it to quartering and throwing it in.
Flame the surface of the kiwi with a blowtorch.
Creme brulee. I think you'll be all right, man. But try it again, because I would love to know how it comes out with just the fresh fruit with no heat applied to it at all, because I think it would be brighter, and then you wouldn't have some of this problem. Not this problem, but you know what I mean.
Use more.
Right,
I mean, how many pounds was it again? You used 3 pounds of kiwis. That is a lot. I would think you'd get a little more.
Is it a gas oven or is it electric? Because that will matter. I'm kidding.
Electric.
Yeah, see, I could taste it. I knew it. I knew it right away. No, I'm kidding. Thanks for the recipe and the John, man. Do you have any questions for the guys?
Basically, I mean, kind of some of, what I was looking for was, some of the recipe, how well, kind of I balanced kind of the fruit and the Saison and the phenols from the Saison, which you guys mentioned. And I was also just kind of interested in, I've been trying to mess with bottling, and that's always seems to kind of be my downfall. I think it sounds like it lost a little bit of carbonation, kind of in the process, but my main worry was that it was going to arrive to you guys flat. And
no, definitely not.
Wasn't bad. No.
So is it a beer gun, or something like that you're using, or what are you doing in terms of bottling?
I used the Last Straw.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a beer gun,
I think it was like
basically
a
from Northern
Lobster
Brewer.
or something like that.
Yep. Yep. But so you were saying that, like, to dry it out a bit more, but it ended at 10:04.
Yeah, so that's perception, and that's what, a little more carbonation would make it seem a little bit drier too, and that's a lot of that is perception. There's, and maybe sometimes as well when you're thinking about that, like, could change your water profile a little bit, or your hopping rate a little bit high. I don't know. There's lots of different things just change the perception a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you can get the perception of sweetness too from a little more acid in the beer, like the acidulated malt and the fruit that's in there. That's kind of acidic too, giving the impression of sweetness, even though it's pretty dry. So you can feel that it's dry, but there is a hint of sweetness there for sure.
Okay.
It's not bone dry.
Cool.
Pretty good, Steven?
Yeah.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'll definitely try, basically change one thing at a time. So I'll try it next time with just adding the fruit directly without putting it in the oven.
And that's the best way, especially with beer, man, because there's so many variables to change. You never know what's gonna make the difference unless you do it one at a time.
Yeah. Quickly with the yeast, what did you ferment at, and did you go up to?
It was kind of cold in my basement. Basically, the ambient temperature was 60. I don't have a thermo well or anything.
Okay.
So I just kind of threw it in at that point. And it pretty much, my basement pretty much stays 60. So you
let it naturally heat up in the fermentation.
Yeah, I'm sure it naturally heated up a little bit, from there. But I know I cooled it down to about 65 because I was trying to mute at least some of those kind of peppery phenols just to kind of balance it a little bit more with the fruit, because I knew a kiwi is more of a subtle type
I would say bring it upstairs as it's starting to taper off and let it finish high.
Yeah, and even I think, and sometimes it's kind of weird, like it's kind of almost counterintuitive. Sometimes you get more flavor from keeping like a Saison or a wheat strain cooler. It stresses the yeast, and they throw off more flavors from doing that. So I'm not really familiar with that yeast strain that you're using, so I'm not sure what their temperature targets are. But sometimes it's better to go, like, a lot of other Saison strains, they really want you to go really high, like up to 80 and stuff like that, to dry it out as well. But like sometimes you can, like I know, like with a Hefeweizen strain, sometimes it feels like if you go cooler, you get some more of that clove flavor as well in fermentation. So, and you can stress the yeast a little bit by doing that. So, I don't know, something to consider. You don't necessarily, it's not always like equal of like, hey, keeping it cool is going to keep it cleaner. Sometimes it actually does change the profile, and that's something else to play with. But like JP said, you probably want to play with one thing at a time. And not multiple factors.
I agree with that, though, too. Yeah, it seemed like this yeast might have been a little stressed. And some people that like a really peppery Saison are going to do it a little bit cooler to do that intentionally. So you managed to keep it going and long enough to finish out to 10:04, so that's good.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing the beer.
Absolutely.
Hey,
enjoyed it, yeah.
All right, Steven.
I guys liked it.
Thanks. Oh, and thanks for the can of beer. We're going to crack that open right now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sweet. Yeah, enjoy it.
Which it's funny because Warren brought me 2 beers from the same brewery like last week.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, which is pretty funny.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's pretty, I don't know, pretty funny that it's all happened with like a week of each other.
Jack's Abbey.
Yeah, it's a great brewery up in Massachusetts. They basically, all they do is different lagers.
Nice.
They just opened up a new place called Springdale, which they're doing a lot of the sours out of at this point. So.
Well, I'm going to drink this entire can and not share it.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right, Steven, thanks, dude.
Thanks, man.
All right, bye.
Yeah, it's a cool looking can too.
Man, now like just letting that beer kind of sit in my palate and whatever, it tastes like kiwi candy.
Candied kiwi.
Yeah, that was a trip. Okay, so we have a couple things to give away, but first, if you're going to HomebrewCon, you got to go to HomebrewCon. If you're any sort of home brewer at all, get your butt over to HomebrewCon. It is in Portland this year. Portland, Colorado? No, Portland. Where's Portland? Oregon.
Maine.
Nope.
Portland, Oregon.
Now, Portland, Maine.
And I tell you, I was there a few months ago, and there's a lot of cool stuff, man. There's a couple cool
a lot of cocktail bars. Yeah, cocktail bars.
Dude, they do. I'm telling you, this is what you do for HomebrewCon. You drink Rainier beer. And you drink cocktails, and don't look back. Don't touch a beer. Don't look at other beer, because it's all shit. Rainier and cocktails. That's it. Because you know what you're getting. And I'm telling you,
you're advertising on the AHA with this, I guess, is what you're doing.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Your live read for the AHA right now.
That's what this is. But save yourself for homebrew. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm talking about the craft brew, right?
Don't drink
the craft beer.
brew.
Don't worry about the craft beer. Don't go to the craft beer bars because they're going to be packed. Go to HomebrewCon. Register now at the homebrewers. What is it? AHA.org. Do all that kind of stuff, man, because I swear to God, Portland is a place to be for food and cocktails. That's where you go. And then when you go to the conference, go to club night, drink all the homebrew there, go to maybe Pro Brewers Night. You can go to Pro Brewers Night. And that's about it. That's all you need.
My advice is the exact opposite of JP's.
What?
Skip all the talks and just go to every trendy craft brewery in Portland. It's the freaking best. I love it up there.
Oh, that is not appropriate. That's a funny thing to say, Brian. I don't agree with you at all. Okay, we have a $40 gift certificate to grogtag.com to give away. And who is that going to, please?
The grog tag goes to Rob.
To Rob, all right.
Yeah, thank you.
Good job, Rob. Nice work.
Make that beer look nice.
Right. Nice work getting a lower score.
Well, it's aged.
Grog tag. Yeah, I know. I kind of feel bad. It's hard to judge a 10-month-old bottle-conditioned Kolsch. It's tough. It's like I feel like I'm going to Bevmo. But you know what? The beer, I think, had some definite.
It wasn't heated to
not a sponsor.
It wasn't heated. Well, it's true.
Yeah. Not a sponsor.
It did have some qualities, like you said, Brian, and I would love to try it fresh.
Yeah, I think it would have been
that'd be great.
Way different beer for sure.
All right, let's get out of here. What do you think? We're done?
Done.
All right. So thank you, everybody, for sending in beers to Rob and Steven. Thank you to 5 Star, of course, for sponsoring the show. And again, go to HomebrewCon this year. It's in Portland. It's a good time. A few tiki bars, a lot of cocktail bars, and if you're into it, there's craft beer. But why would you want to go out when there's a bunch of homebrew? So learn about your beers, learn how to make better beer, learn how to judge other people's beer better, because that's just what happens. And then hang out with us, because we'll be there. You guys are both going, right?
Yeah, buddy.
Oh yeah, we're doing.
I still haven't booked my. I gotta.
We'll figure it out.
All right, well, we're doing a couple live Dr. Homebrews, so that'll be fun. Anyway, everybody, thanks a lot for tuning in, and we will see you next time.